Shalom. I'm Rabbi Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. What is the source of our happiness? I'm going to talk about this week's Parsha, this week's Torah reading in Israel, which is Parsha Korach. We're one ahead of the rest of the world. And Parsha Korach talks about the rebellion that Korach, who was a very wise man and very prominent where he was, rebellion that he had against Moses and Aaron because he wasn't satisfied with what he had. And what happened? We see that he received a tremendous punishment. There was a punishment that was created for him that hadn't happened any time in the world, where he and all his followers were swallowed up alive to the ground. What happened here? What was Korach's motive? And what can we learn from this? So I hope during this time to discuss what he did that we should not copy and how we can avoid doing it. The Torah begins with the words, Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahas, and so on. He says, Korach took. And Rashi, the great commentator, says on that, Vayikach Korach, Malakach, Korach took, what did he take? He took for himself. He took for himself a machlokas, a dispute, but it was for himself. And let me just interject that there are many commentaries as to the reasoning for what he did. This I'm talking about is only one of the commentaries, and there are many others. But he took for himself. It was a selfish reason. It was a narcissistic reason, if you will. Now we know that in the Ten Commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot, the last of the Aseret HaDibrot is Lo Tachmod. You shouldn't want that which somebody else has. This was Korach's problem. And basically, we learn from Korach's action that the basis of a person's problem is because he is not satisfied with what he has. It's like an example of you have a number of children at different ages, and you give different portions to the older ones who can eat more, and to the less to the younger ones. And the younger ones start complaining, why should he have more? And we're like children. We see, we have a nice car, and then we're driving on the road and say, wow, look at that car, why can't I have that? Lo sachmod. Wanting something that isn't yours. Not being satisfied with what we have. It's interesting that this particular Torah reading of Korach follows the last week's Torah reading in Israel, which is the current Torah reading in everywhere else but Israel, the Parsha of Shalach. And in the Parsha of Shalach, we have the commandment of wearing tzitzis, fringes on your garment, tchelet, blue fringes, sky blue, on the corners of a four-cornered garment. And it says in that parsha, "V'lo sasuru acharei levavachem, v'acharei einechem asher atem zonim achareihem." Don't pursue after your heart and your eyes, wanting something that somebody else has. And that's one of the Meforshim, one of the commentators say that's the connection. That's why Parsha Korach is written right here, because what was Korach doing? He was in fact pursuing, looking for things that weren't his, wanting things that weren't his. And the problem with this is how do you correct it? What could he have done to correct this? So we basically have to understand that we need to be satisfied with our lot in life, with where we are in our life, and to be not only satisfied, but be happy with it. You want to become rich, as the Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Father, says, Ezeu Ashir Hasomeach Bechelko. Who is rich? That person who's satisfied with what he has. Now, there's an interesting comment that the Mei HaShaloach, the Ishbitzer Rebbe, said. After the opening of the ground and the swallowing of Korach and his followers alive, the people once again rebelled against God and came complaining. Said, why are you killing everybody? And then God brought a plague around them. They were complaining, and he said, okay, you're going to have something to complain about. He brought a plague that killed many, many people, almost 15,000 people. And Aaron HaKodesh was able to stop the plague with the incense that Moshe commanded him. But after the plague, there's a very interesting commandment. And the Torah tells as follows. It says, V'yomer Hashem al Moshe, God said to Moses, V'kach me'item mata mata levesav. Take a staff from the head of each tribe, 12 staffs. And then he said, put these in the ground, and we'll see which one flowers. And then the one that really flowers will be the real leader. Of course, it was the tribe of Levi, Aaron's tribe, that flowered. But what's the significance of the staff? So the Mei HaShaloach says that this was a hint, to hint in the future that God will show the children of Israel, to every single person, every single Jew, that he has to come into his place and be satisfied with his place and not complain. And he said the Ishbitzer says, this is the whole reason for these staffs. Staff we refer to as a staff of life. Staff is a symbol of life. That he says, Shahara Hashem Yisborach L'Kuli Alma, L'Kol Echad Ve'echad. God is showing every single person Mokum Tov, that that his place is a good place. The place where you're at is a good place. Don't complain and don't desire somebody else's portion. And I quoted the sentence from the Ethics of the Fathers, Ezehu Ashir Hasomech Bechelko, who is happy, he is satisfied with his lot. You could also understand that to mean true happiness is not only being satisfied with what you have, but more than that, when you see that your neighbor has a new job, has a good job, has a promotion, has a new car, has a new anything that's beautiful, instead of being jealous and saying, why can't I have it? You should rejoice. Be happy that your neighbor has it. As Ezeu Ashir, who was rich, Hasomech Bechalko, he who was happy with the chelek, with the portion of his friend. And that's what we have to strive for. Too many of us are so busy and so involved in the world trying to better ourselves at the expense of others. And that we can't do. We have to learn that we each have a place. Not all of us are qualified to be a physician. Not all of us are qualified to be a hairdresser. Anything. We have our own abilities. We should be satisfied with those abilities. Work those abilities to the best of your ability, but be satisfied with them and don't want that which belongs to somebody else. Don't be jealous. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat, and let's all learn to be happy with what we have in life. Shabbat Shalom.